Reserves undone at Falkirk. We look back at yesterday's game. Former goalkeeper Peter Latchford joins us on the huddle. And we look forward to the unveiling of the Brother Walford statue. Hi there, Walford is here making his huddle debut. Thanks for coming in, lovely to see you.
Good evening.
We'll catch up with Peter very shortly, but first, the reserves were in action yesterday, hoping to continue their recent good vein of form at the club. Let's begin by looking at your Celtic fact file first of all, Peter. So you actually made your debut against Hibs on the 22nd of February 1975, but at that time you were actually on loan from West Bromwich Albion.
Yeah, that was my first team debut. I actually played in the reserves at Ayr about 3 days before that. We drew one each, I think. That was my first introduction to Scottish football, yeah, I remember that well.
Yeah, because you actually you signed full forms on the 14th of July.
Yes,
1975. But that's your total appearances, 272 with 82 shutouts, which I think is what, about 30% or so?
Not bad for an old guy like me, yeah.
Not bad at all. Scottish Cup winners, 1974-75, 76-77 and 79-80. There you can see the league winners. Last game against Rangers, the Glasgow Cup, 7th of May 1987. And you've also got 2 England under-23 caps. Now, can I just quickly ask you, when you first came to the club, there were 3 rather big names in football that got you up here. Jock Stein, of course, Don Revie and Don Howe.
Yeah, well, Don Howe was the manager at West Brom. Big Jock was very pally with Don Revie, of course, and Don Revie was very pally with Don Howe. They were managers the way they go. As far as I'm led to believe, Big Jock's phoned Don Revie to say, look, I'm looking for a keeper, I need one desperately. Have you got anything? He says, no, but I think I know where there's one that will suit you, because I'd played against Leeds about 2 months previously in the first team, and funnily enough, in the reserves about a week beforehand. Very good games on both occasions. He phones Don Howe, and Don Howe then drags me in from training and said, look, because I'd already asked the guy out on loan as well, anywhere, he said, how do you fancy going to Celtic? I went, yeah, where is it? And he said, oh, no, it's up in Scotland. And I said, yeah, fine, great, OK. And went back outside, carried on training. We had Willie Johnson, ex-Rangers player, with us. And I spoke to Willie straight away, and Willie said, look, don't even think about it, big man. He says, go. He says, it'll be the best time of your life. You'll love it. He says, I hate them. He says, I don't like them at all. He says, but you go, you'll love it. He says, they're fantastic supporters. OK, well, let's have a look at you in action. We're going to watch you in action. Yeah. And what I'd like to ask you is, when you first came up, did you find it difficult to settle in? Because I read with interest that you were not used to playing behind a sweeper. Oh, I should have held that one. Yeah, it was. The sweepers weren't around down in England then. You know, they played with a solid. Oh, I should have caught that one. Back four, but Celtic played with a sweeper system before a sweeper was, you know, the name of a sweeper was known about. Oh, I've caught one. I love the pitch. I just love looking at this stuff and looking at the pitches compared to the bowling greens they get now. You know, and players still complain about it, by the way. No, John Clark, for instance, playing behind Billy McNeil, was a sweeper before sweepers were invented.
Real Madrid.
Oh, that was a good night.
What a night.
Yep. What am I doing here? God, balance is terrible. See, if I had me now, coaching now, I could actually do a little bit better with myself, I think. But
it's quite interesting, that, because do you look back on your career and think, I could have done better here, I should have done that?
Every time one of those, I could have done better. Yeah. Should have done better, should have been better balanced, should have made decisions earlier, should have got in front of a player, not behind him, even when I caught it. I'm looking at that with interest, but there was nobody like me around for players of my generation. There were, you know, to talk to another experienced goalkeeper, it was only your first, you know, it was an older one there. Yeah. Now, if you're the first team keeper and you're making mistakes and you're doing things wrong, there's nobody to talk to go through this with you, you know.
If you could look back and define one moment in your Celtic career that gives you your fondest memory, what would it be?
Fondest memory? You've got to go back to the 4-2 game. I think that was a great night. Atmosphere-wise was fantastic, and I mean, beating Rangers at any time is really very nice, you know. But to do it the way we did it, was that's a great memory. That was a great memory. That and winning the Delhi Express five-a-sides as well, because the Lisbon Lions couldn't do that. So that's another story for another night.
We will definitely tell that one to Jim Craig. Tell us quickly what you're doing just now.
Well, I'm coaching at Motherwell at the moment. I have been there since the start of the season. I was at Hearts previously 3 years. I've been coaching now for, it must be about 12 years more, since Danny McGrain got me in at Arbroath, interested again, and got bitten by the bug, and I'm still at it.
Looks like you got out of Hearts at a good time.
Well, only time will tell.
That's a story for another night. Yes. OK, how would you like to win a new book that delves into one of the darkest periods in Celtic's history? Tom Campbell's book, 10 Days That Shook Celtic. Joining me to discuss the day's events and the whole reason behind it is the Brother Walford Committee Chairman, Eddie Toner. Eddie, lovely to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Good evening, Ollie.
Just 3 years since the planning started on this, and at long last, you're just about there. You starting to get excited?
Yeah, it seems like a lifetime. Yeah, there's a real sense of excitement, I think, building up to what should be a fairly historic day, I think, in the club's history. We've been working hard at this now for 3 years, and I'm sure everybody who's contributed over that 3 years will be delighted with the end product when they see it on Saturday.
Why do you think, for yourself and for Celtic fans all over the world, that this whole Brother Walford concept should be known, that everybody should be remembering Brother Walford?
I mean, it's quite simple for us, Ali. Brother Walford defines the club. You know, it's Brother Walford that gives us a sense of identity. When you look at the culture and the history that's attached to Celtic, Brother Walford underpins all of that. Brother Walford, without Celtic, and I think Celtic View mentioned it today in a story by Dr. Joe Bradley, without Brother Walford there would be no Celtic. So he really defines the club for us. And it's long overdue that he's remembered in this way.
OK, well, let's go through the process or some of the process of how, at long last, the statue of Brother Walford will be unveiled on Saturday afternoon at Celtic Park. And it all started with committee meetings. So, roughly, do you know how many meetings you've had in, the 3 year period? Oh,
I wouldn't like to add them up, but quite a few. I mean, probably we're meeting, certainly over the last year, 18 months, at least once a week. Organising fundraisers, organising the book sales and the bad sales, and working closely with the sculptor Kate Robinson, who's done a tremendous job, in the actual design and, in the content of the plaques on the plinth. And so I wouldn't like to quantify the hours we've put into it, but I'm looking forward to getting some life back after Saturday.
Now, this is Kate Robinson's studio. Kate Robinson is the sculptor of the statue. Just tell us how Kate became involved in the project.
Kate got involved initially through some contact with Jim Divers, who's the secretary of the association at the moment. Jim's a plumber and went to visit Kate to do a job fixing her toilet, believe it or not, and discovered that Kate was a sculptor. And at that time we had just embarked on the project, and we'd been speaking to one or two other sculptors. And after speaking to Kate and seeing some of the work that she'd done, we asked Kate to tender for the project, and she did, and basically she got the job, if you like, and has done a tremendous job, and probably went over and above the sort of call of duty in terms of being really involved in the committee, and has really thrown herself into the project. So, I think we got it right in terms of the artist that we chose.
And this was this week at Celtic Park, as they were just getting it all ready for Saturday afternoon. What's it been like for you to watch the progress down at the park?
Tremendous sigh of relief seeing that going in on Tuesday. We've been working tirelessly in the ceremony and the preparations for the weekend, and if one or two minor things had gone wrong, we could have worked around it, but if the statue hadn't turned up, we'd have had a major problem. So I was delighted that it turned up, and and it's just a culmination of 3 years hard work for not only for myself, but for a really hard working great group of guys who have who've been involved in this over that period. OK, well,
we've actually got the order of ceremony for you here. So if you are planning to go down to Celtic Park on Saturday afternoon, this is what the day will be like for you. So, Eddie, just take us through exactly what's going to happen.
There's a whole programme of events. If you look there, going from 1 o'clock, there's some introductory video shots of Brother Walford in the video narrated by Neil Lennon, and that's going to last for about an hour, and that'll be there to greet people when they arrive on the day. We then moved to this, and we should always be looking towards that in the future.
Okay. Listen, thank you ever so much for coming in. It's an absolute pleasure. Peter, thank you for your company tonight. Love to have you back. Thanks ever so much for joining us. Please do get down to Celtic Park at 1 o'clock for the unveiling of the statue. Under-19 manager Willie McStay will be with us in
It may be a bitterly cold evening at Celtic Park, but nothing can disguise the genuine emotion as the Celtic supporters, in their unique way, pay tribute and offer condolences in song for that tragedy in Madrid. It is also, of course, a consequence of an evening which, thankfully, will be about football now. The thoughts of all these players, the officials, all of us in fact, have been with the people of Madrid today. And now, as the referee comes onto the pitch, the referee Wolfgang Stark, we're about to have this minute's silence. As soon as he blows that whistle.
And observe 1 minute of silence for all those affected by the tragic events that took place in Madrid.